Previously on X-Men.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. We just got Captain America back during the recent episode of X-Men 97, and during it, he references the Avengers during a big standoff he has with Rogue, akin to something like Captain America Civil War, or even Marvel's original comic book Civil War, where you have superhero teams starting to split over major issues, leading to them fighting each other to defend their positions in a really messed up or tragic event. During the events of X-Men 97, it's all about what Bastion is doing to mutants, his master plan, how he's orchestrating the destruction of all these superhero teams by causing them to fracture, driving everyone against each other. Baron Zemo would be proud, getting all the superheroes to do your dirty work for you. So we'll break it all down and what his real master plan is, like how he's pulling the strings and what he's doing with these characters. I know everyone would love to see X-Men vs. the Avengers in live action eventually too. Even though we have Deadpool and Wolverine coming really soon, I'm not expecting to see anything that crazy. Like, it's meant to be a little bit smaller than, say, like Secret Wars. That's probably the movie where you start to see Avengers on screen with X-Men characters going really crazy. But I am sure eventually, by the time we get through Secret Wars, we'll actually see some legit X-Men vs. Avengers in the MCU once they get those new live-action X-Men movies going. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. We're going to get X-Men 97 Episode 8 soon. That'll be the start of a 3-part finale titled Tolerance is Extinction, during which Bastion will begin to execute what he referred to as his masterpiece, his ultimate plan to destroy all mutants, not just the X-Men.
Tussle with the gene freaks gave us invaluable tactical data for my real masterpiece.
One of the reasons why he feels like his plan is vastly superior to the plans of the villains of old, as he joked about way back in 92, basically when the original X-Men the animated series started, he was just making fun of Mr. Sinister there, all the other major villains from that series, including Apocalypse of all people, is that Bastion's using knowledge of the future because he's from the future, so he's using their past failures as a roadmap to avoid making the same mistakes. And one of the side benefits to him, it's not a benefit to the X-Men or any of the mutants, obviously, but one of the ways his plan is way more complex is that he's actually engineering a situation in which the Avengers and the other superheroes inside this X-Men 97 universe here will side with him against the mutants in the X-Men, even though everybody hates him. He's essentially going to get all the non-mutant superheroes to do a lot of the legwork for him in a number of different ways. Already, we're starting to see how his previous actions on the show executing this long-game plan have led to the standoff between Rogue and Captain America in the recent episode where he's referenced the Avengers, confirming that the Avengers are canon to the series.
Sends a message.
Damn right, that you stand with mutants. Unless you don't now.
Once I get the thumbs up, I'll lead my team to Mexico to apprehend Gyrick.
If you didn't watch the original X-Men the Animated Series or Spider-Man the Animated Series from the 1990s, essentially all those series are meant to be canon to each other. I say this in a lot of my videos when I'm referencing different characters that we have seen or we haven't seen on the X-Men 97 episodes yet. The brand new episodes on X-Men 97 have worked a little bit harder to make that clear, like all this is meant to be canon, all these characters exist in the same Earth. A lot of the Marvel characters all coming together didn't really happen in a bigger way to that original Spider-Man 90s series though. But these are all meant to be the same versions of the characters from X-Men the Animated Series and so on to all these other Marvel characters too. That's why this Captain America during the animated Secret Wars is the same Captain America that you see during the X-Men 97 Episode 7 talking to Rogue. So Iron Man, Thor, the Hulk, all canon to X-Men 97. That's also why we got that Hulk cameo scene with Thunderbolt Ross in the episode talking about him too, to remind you that the Hulk exists in this universe.
Gentlemen, need I remind you that we're standing in the same place built to hold the Hulk?
So when Captain America and Rogue have their little standoff, she chucks his shield to the other side of the stage, just pissing him off. She did that because he clearly told her that his ultimate loyalty was to the US government, not to mutants. Even though he was trying to be understanding and wants to capture Gyrick and Trask and stop what he thought they were doing at the time, he doesn't have all the info about Bastion or his master plan with the Prime Sentinels yet that we learned at the end of the episode. The X-Men just learned about that. But all this information about the Prime Sentinels and their real plan will start to trickle out in the finale, so all the other heroes like Captain America, the Avengers, everybody else will learn eventually. But this is kind of like the beginning of their Captain America Civil War moment where they have a standoff over an issue and essentially have to pick sides, the mutants versus the US government. What Bastian is doing as part of his master plan, this also gets into why he needs Magneto and Professor X, is he's going to use them to turn the US government and all humans, all non-mutants, against the X-Men and mutants by making them afraid of them. Basically get everyone, including all the non-mutant superheroes like the Avengers, to do a lot of his dirty work for him, turning public opinion against the mutants. So the Avengers, for example, who essentially have to answer to the US government, like Captain America says, would be forced to take down the X-Men. Like the Avengers don't hate the X-Men, but if the US government orders them to stop the X-Men and they feel like there's a real threat coming from mutants, it would mean that they have to fight them. Notice how during the exact same episode, when Cyclops is talking to President Kelly, he's the US president right now, he started to get more radicalized against humans. Like he already feels like humans hate him and all the terrible things that have happened to him are a result of humans not liking mutants.
Kicked off an all-out war between humans and mutants. And if scared voters see me helping your kind...
President Kelly also made it sound like he cared more about his voters than he cared about mutants, which were mostly humans, so both of them taking sides on the issue. Again, you should be getting vibes of Captain America Civil War here. Battle lines being drawn with Bastian pulling the strings, being the Baron Zemo of this scenario, lighting the match, setting everything on fire, so that ultimately it might burn mutants to the ground if something doesn't happen to stop his plan from working, like Cable just showed up. We're hoping the Cable is somehow able to stop him. Here's where we get to Magneto, Professor X. The reason why Magneto is so important to Bastian, why he told him he wouldn't kill him as long as he played along with his plan, played his part.
So long as you don't resist. Simply listen and obey.
What he meant is that part of his plan to turn the US government against mutants and the X-Men is by doing something from the Operation Zero Tolerance comic book arc that they're adapting for the finale. That's what OZT means, where you see it written all over these monitors, all over people's badges. It's Operation Zero Tolerance from the comics, where Bastian created the Prime Sentinels originally. During that comic book arc, he used the threat of Onslaught, the character, as a way to strike fear into the US government, turning them against the X-Men and mutants. Now, the show is changing the comic book plot, so I don't know if we'll see actual Onslaught on the show. Like, Professor X is on his way back to Earth, so a lot of people are like, is he going to turn into Onslaught? It's also possible Bastian just turns Magneto or other mutants into Prime Sentinels, causing them to go crazy and start attacking a bunch of people. But part of the reason why Magneto is so important to him at the moment is because the US government is already terrified of Magneto. Like, they just put him on trial and he threatened to kill them. He's actually threatened to kill them many times in the past. So the US government is already afraid of him. All mutants love Magneto. Remember all the Magneto was right banners in Genosha? Bastian orchestrated the attack from the Wild Sentinel on Genosha to get mutants to start hating humans. And essentially, Bastian wants the US government to think that Magneto is going to use all mutants to destroy humanity as retaliation, to make the humans so afraid that they'll cheer the thought of the Prime Sentinels. There's also his plan to use Professor X in that clip that he got of him, talking about him becoming Emperor of the Shi'ar Empire, to strike even more fear into the US government, thinking that the Shi'ar Empire is going to bring their army to destroy Earth as well. All he has to do is show the US government that clip that he captured using his future tech. But here's where we get to Bastian's even longer term plan, like real long game plan here. His immediate goal right now is just to destroy mutants using the Prime Sentinels. But remember why Trask went full Oppenheimer. Like, you never go full Oppenheimer. He started to see what was going to eventually happen, like Bastian's true long-term plan. He realized he'd inadvertently helped usher the destruction of all humans as well as mutants, like everybody on planet Earth. As he said, he created the Sentinels in the first place with the purpose of protecting humans from mutants, but then Bastian is born as the fusion of Master Mold and Nimrod, another advanced Sentinel that we saw in previous episodes from the distant future, the Days of Future Past timeline. They come back in time in Bastian form to wipe out mutants, but what winds up happening is the Prime Sentinels are essentially humans turned into Sentinels with nanobots created by Bastian. When that happens, it essentially takes over humans' bodies, sublimating their consciousness or killing them, basically wiping out the human that's turned into a Prime Sentinel. Ultimately, Bastian seeks to turn every human on the Earth into a Prime Sentinel with these nanobots, until in the comics, what winds up happening, now they might change this on the show a little bit, but in the comics, the idea is the Sentinels determine that after mutants are gone and there are only humans left, that the greatest threat to Earth are the humans themselves. So you don't have to have seen every single sci-fi movie or dystopian post-apocalyptic movie to see what happens next. Is the Prime Sentinels detect humans being the ultimate threat to Earth, they get rid of them too. So RIP everybody on planet Earth. That is, unless Cable is successful in stopping Bastion. Which early theory, like it's not hard to guess, he probably will be. As bad as things are getting on the show, there'll always be that little sliver of hope. Like things were like this during the original animated series. Things would often get worse before they got better, and they would usually end in some kind of hopeful way with a twist though. A lot of times, especially in the original animated series, and is the case with Captain America Civil War in live action, it winds up being a Pyrrhic victory for the heroes, where even though they probably stopped Bastion on the show, the Prime Sentinels, there's so much collateral damage and so many divisions within their ranks, X-Men mutants, that it becomes hard to call it a true victory for them.
Spend all that time, all that effort, and to see it fail. Did it?
And it kind of seems like they've been teasing this the past couple of episodes, especially with Cyclops' character, that they might be breaking up the X-Men at the end of the season and debuting a new roster during season 2, like Emma Frost joining the X-Men. But because the finale is this big 3-part event, it's going to be huge, expecting a ton more cameos. Like we see cameos in every single episode. It gets crazy. Some of them are just Morph turning into other characters, and some of them are like legit cameo scenes or references like Captain America showing up or them referencing the Hulk with Thunderbolt Ross, Captain America referencing the Avengers characters, seeing the Spider-Man and Venom Easter eggs way back in episode 1. I'm expecting to see some more legit, like actual full-on cameo scenes in the last couple of episodes. When it comes to some of the other real big Avengers characters, like Iron Man, for instance, the funny thing about Iron Man inside this animated universe where everybody is canon to the same universe, most of his episodes were actually during Spider-Man the Animated Series with like just him and Spider-Man teaming up. The funny thing about that, like the reason why you didn't see him being a bigger character during that era is because during the 90s, Iron Man was viewed as more of like a B-tier character. Like he didn't sell nearly as many comics as say like Spider-Man, vastly more popular, or the X-Men, who at the time were like at the peak of their popularity. For example, that's why Bryan Singer and Fox decided to do X-Men as that 2000 film of like all the films they could do because Marvel went bankrupt. They sold the rights to a lot of their characters. You have a lot of like really popular characters out there you could make movies for. They decided to make the X-Men movie because at the time in comics, X-Men just in general was the most popular group, and it was because of the success of X-Men the Animated Series during the 90s, which brought the characters to a much wider audience that did not read comics. So just in general, at that time, Iron Man, for example, was not in the public consciousness in the way that he was after the first Iron Man movie in the beginning of the MCU. There's like a whole separate video I could do about the rise and decline of different comic book characters and different comic book teams over the years based on everything that happened when the live-action movies started to set off in the early 2000s. In fact, one of the big reasons for the decline of X-Men in the comic books, like why there weren't a lot of X-Men comic books during those mid-2000s, 2010s, where the Avengers, Iron Man, all the live-action MCU characters really started to become way more popular, is mostly because Marvel did not control the X-Men movie rights anymore. They were at Fox, like this was long before the Disney buyout deal happened. So essentially the corporate overlords at Marvel, not Kevin Feige, but like the people above him, told the Marvel comic book people to really downplay the X-Men. So that's why you saw this big recession in the amount of X-Men stuff that Marvel was hyping up during that period. And why when the Fox Disney buyout deal went through, like around the time Avengers Endgame was coming out, they started to hype up all their new X-Men titles, like this big resurgence of X-Men stuff with the Krakoa era. And because they're slowly closing down the multiverse saga of movies heading into Marvel Phase 7, it'll be like a much more mutant phase, much more X-Men phase saga. No big coincidence that they just announced another refresh of all these huge X-Men lights. Like it's X-Men all over the place, everywhere that you're seeing now. It's also one of the reasons why they wanted to wait to premiere X-Men 97 right before Deadpool and Wolverine came out, just because this year is a really good year for X-Men mutant-based fans. There's a couple other reasons why they're downplaying Iron Man, Captain America, a lot of the other classic Avengers characters right now, because Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans just kind of biding their time waiting to eventually come back. So they want to make it seem like those characters are gone and dead after Avengers Endgame. So right now, there's just a lot of things conspiring to sort of bring X-Men back into pop culture in a much, much bigger way than they've been the last like 10 years or so. It's kind of turning into that iCarly meme, like the original show versus the brand new show many, many years later. Like this is me as a kid watching this, and this is me now as an adult, also watching the exact same thing play out. There are probably a lot of you watching this video that have children of your own that watch the original series and are now showing the new stuff to all your children. So enjoy that. It is going to be a lot of fun. The brand new live-action X-Men solo movie is meant to debut the brand new MCU version of the team. I don't think we're going to see that till after Secret Wars, though. I think for right now, all the live-action X-Men stuff we see will mostly be riffing on multiverse-related stuff like Deadpool and Wolverine, the Marvel's post-credit scene with Beast, the X-Men, everything that happens in Secret Wars. So most of that will be referencing the classic X-Men stuff, like original X-Men stuff coming back. Then heading into Marvel Phase 7, it'll be like brand new characters, brand new actors coming in and playing the characters for the most part. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, your predictions for the X-Men 97 finale. Remember, it's 3 parts. My episode 8 video will post next week after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for my full X-Men 97 episode 7 video and Easter eggs, and click here for all my new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer videos and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.